So, this is Dr. Pamela, and I want to talk to you today about testing. Right now, there are just so many parents who have juniors who are stressed out and worried about testing. And so, today is just about having a conversation with you about testing. And I really just want to make sure that this video answers your questions that you're likely to have right now in thinking about what should your teen do in terms of their testing. And hopefully, as we're having this conversation, you will start to feel at ease about the whole process of your teen doing any tests for college admissions in the upcoming months. So, first off, one of the things is that so many times we don't know as parents is the fact that all of the colleges will take either test. And, many years ago, it used to be that you'd have to take both tests, and then from there, it would be taking both tests and then sending one to one college that only takes that test, and then taking the other one and sending the score report to colleges that only took that particular test. And today it's all about students having the opportunity to choose for themselves which test is going to be better for them. Now, when I'm working with students, one of the things that I advise is actually taking a full length practice exam and doing it for both either the SAT or the ACT. And from there, knowing where you stand as far as your score is concerned. And that will give you a chance to really just see what that test is all about, how the questions are asked, and it makes it super easy to feel more comfortable with it. And then once you get your score report back, you can compare and say, hey, you know something? My score is better on this one. And it was, I didn't feel as anxious taking this particular test. It felt easier to me. And so that's the one I'm going to focus on. And that's the key in terms of students really being able to do well on their standardized tests is focusing on one of them. And I do not recommend taking two separate official tests just for the sake of seeing where you are. I say take a practice exam, and then from there, determine which one you want to focus on and get prepped for that particular test date that's coming up for that exam. Now, right now, students are probably thinking about if they're going to take the ACT or SAT, what test date. And I would say look at a calendar and really think about, okay, what things do you have on your plate coming up in these upcoming months? And when is it going to make sense to take it and to take it twice? So I do recommend taking the test twice in junior year. And taking it twice will do two things for you. First off, whenever I've worked with any student, and I've worked with thousands of them, when they take that test the first time, they always say, I can do better next time. I haven't had a student say that, oh, this is it, this is my best score, and I don't need to take it again. Usually they'll want to take it again. And that's great news because you've already planned for a second date. The other thing is that when you have two test dates, if you're applying to a college that super scores, then they'll take the highest score from each section and recalculate your composite, and that can work to your advantage. This gets back to why you don't want to worry about trying to take both tests, and especially not taking both two official test dates and trying to figure it out from there. Because when you look at the test dates, one of the things you're going to see is the way they're staggered and scheduled. It really doesn't work well, more than likely, for your schedule to be able to take two in the school year. And so what you want to do then, like I said, is focus on the one that you're better at and take that twice. So plan for two test dates. Now, in thinking about scheduling your tests and determining, which test date, that's going to be about really looking at what your prep plan is going to be. And I know students want to take the test and just take it cold. And I would advise against taking it cold, an official test. You can take the practice exam cold, but for the test that's going to be your official test, prep for it in advance. And what I usually see is around 8 to 12 weeks of prep. And, if you're a parent and you're thinking, okay, will my kid really need that much, testing, test prep, and what kind of test prep is it? I really, advise looking at what's going to work best for your teen. And one of the things I'll just give you an example from my own experience. So I have 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. And for my oldest, he actually worked with a tutor. And that's because for him, especially as an athlete, he needed to have that accountability and also a set time when he would be meeting with someone. So he actually did a combination of a class and individual tutoring. That's what worked best for him. Now, for my younger son, he didn't want to do a tutor at all. And what he did was he actually did an online course. And the online course actually helped him increase his score, and he did well with it. But he is the kind of student who was disciplined enough to do that. And so many times students will say, I'm going to get a book and I'm going to do this on my own. And you know something? That can work. And that's great if they'll be disciplined enough to do it. Because the thing about it is, if a student is going to teach themselves how to do well on an exam, a standardized test, then they really do need to put in the time on a regular basis to, learn the strategies and to actually work through the different items to improve their score. There may be some things that they'll miss. And so sometimes when students say that they're going to do it on their own, I say, hey, why don't you at least, have 1 or 2 sessions with a tutor, just because they can see some things that you may not have seen teaching it to yourself. And so with that being said, a lot of times students have the best intentions that they're going to be getting up every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. to, time themselves and do an exam. But oftentimes things get in the way. Something gets in the way, whether it's you went out to a game Friday night, or you have something going on Saturday morning with your family. It could be a whole array of things. And so with that being said, oftentimes students may feel like, yeah, I'm going to, do it all myself using a book. And it oftentimes doesn't end up happening that way. And they just, can't quite carve out the time to do it, given everything else that they have on their plate. And I don't know about you, but I just feel like teens today are just so busy. I mean, they're busy doing a whole lot of things and it's good stuff, but they just, their schedules, their plates are really full with all of the activities that they're involved in. And to try to put in being self-disciplined around tutoring, oftentimes it's just too much on their plate and they end up, you know, figuring out, well into a few weeks that, this isn't working and the test date is coming up in 3 weeks. And so I would just say, right at the outset, plan to either, use an online program, take a class, work with a tutor, whatever is going to work best for your team. That's what I would recommend. And planning for around 8 to 12 weeks, depending on where their score was, plan on 8 to 12 weeks to really get ready for that exam. So there is, a lot of anxiety. I recognize it, a lot of anxiety around test taking. And there sometimes can be some confusion around the notion of test optional. And I just say, while your teen, is in junior year, let's say, let them have the opportunity to go ahead and take their standardized tests, either the ACT or the SAT. And when they are applying in senior year, they can make the decision around where they send their scores or not. I just think that when students decide that they're just not going to take it at all, sometimes they, may have that sense of regret in senior year if they find out that a college that they're really excited about has decided to require a score. And you don't want them to be in that, you know, position of being regretful or having to scramble and all of a sudden take the exam. So I would recommend just going ahead and taking the exam twice in junior year. And then from there, you can at least decide for yourself whether or not you want to submit your scores. And so I look forward to talking with you next time. I have a link in the description, so definitely reach out for more information, and I look forward to talking with you next time.